Welcome to the recorded mini chat session for Task 2 in the Humanities. My name is Tanya Wenin, and I'm one of the course mentors in Humanities. Today we're going to look at Task 2, talk about it, demystify it, make sure that you're clear on what needs to be done, and answer a lot of questions, commonly asked questions students have about Task 2. In the way of getting started, I want to sort of just set the stage for what we're going to talk about. Task 2 is a multimedia 25 to 30 slide PowerPoint presentation. And I'll stop right here. If you're not familiar with PowerPoint or just feeling a little sketchy on how to use it, MindEdge Module number 11. If you've not had a chance to look at that, I would encourage you to do so. MindEdge Module 11 is exclusively devoted to Task 2. It is designed to help you with different aspects of the task, including how to use PowerPoint and how to put together a PowerPoint presentation. If you do not have PowerPoint or a Microsoft Office Suite, there's also a free version called OpenOffice. It can be found at openoffice.org. It's similar to PowerPoint. The program that OpenOffice uses is called Impress. Have a look at that if you do not have PowerPoint. If you are a Mac user, Keynote is an accepted format as well. Keep in mind that this is not going to be a traditional PowerPoint in that there is no verbal component to this PowerPoint. So everything that you will want to include in the way of information will need to be put on the slides. Because of that, you will have a combination of bullet points, full sentences, even entire paragraphs on slides, and feel very comfortable moving between the different styles of slides. Again, this is not your typical or traditional PowerPoint format. Guidelines for the PowerPoint include using a text somewhere between 18-point and 24-point font, just as a recommended guideline, depending on the type of font. You know, certain fonts look bigger or smaller, so you may want to play with that a bit. And stick with no more than 14 lines per slide. Much more than that, and the slides will get very wordy, very text-heavy, and hard to read. Again, for sort of background information on the task, some example analyses, even how to, reference multimedia, anything you might include in terms of multimedia, whether that be a picture of some sort. Have a look at Module 11. We'll give you some good background information on how to complete this task. So the premise of the task is this. You will be selecting 3 creative works from 3 separate disciplines and using methods of subjective and objective analysis in this PowerPoint. This PowerPoint is designed to be given to a group of your peers. So for example, if you're in Teachers College, you would be giving this to a group of other teachers and describing for them how a knowledge of the humanities is important professionally. In choosing your 3 works, I do recommend that students start with the works of literature because you are limited to the works of literature found in the task instructions. As you can see here, if you can see these task instructions online, it may be a little small. If not, you may want to pull them up separately. But you'll see in the task instructions, they give you a work of literature combination list. There are some short stories, some poems. There are a couple of novels. You certainly do not need to read this list in its entirety to complete this task. I usually tell students 3 or 4, maybe 5 works. If you read through a few of these, you should have enough of a sample size from which to draw. And really what you're looking at when you're looking at these works of literature is you're trying to extrapolate themes, main ideas from these works of literature, what you take out of them as sort of the principal idea or ideas. And you're looking for a theme that you can connect to your profession. And when they say your profession, they mean your intended degree profession. So nursing, information technology, teaching, or business. Those are our 4 colleges here at WGU. So you'll fall under one of those larger program umbrellas. So that's what they're talking about when they speak of profession. And I actually usually tell students to keep it that broad. Even if you're specifically going to be a science teacher or specifically going into accounting, you may find it easier to complete this task taking it from a broader teaching perspective or a broader business perspective. So you'll look at these works of literature and look at them to the degree you need to find a work of literature that has a theme that you can connect to your profession. I have seen students do presentations covering themes like hope, death, dying, search for identity, relationship, honesty, integrity, motivation, perseverance, autonomy, ostracism and bullying, compassion. The list really is endless of the humanistic themes that you will find in these works of literature. And all you need to do is connect one of those humanistic themes to your profession. Again, it's not a literal connection. You're not going to find a story about being a nurse or a story about being a teacher, but rather it has a humanistic theme that you can relate to your profession. So that's where you'll start. And once you've settled on your work of literature and your thematic umbrella, then from that point you will go and find another 2 works of art. And your remaining 2 works of art must come from the disciplines of two-dimensional visual art, music, and or film. You have to select 2 different disciplines within these 3 disciplines. For example, you can't choose 2 films or 2 songs or 2 photographs. It can be a film and a piece of music, or a piece of music and a painting, some combination thereof. These 2 additional works of art will also fall under that same thematic umbrella that you identified from your work of literature, so that all 3 works of art share a common theme, and you can connect that common theme in some way to your profession. For a lot of students, this is the most challenging, sometimes the most fun, certainly the most creative, pushes the comfort zone a little bit for students sometimes, but this is a way to sort of get out of your box and think creatively about your profession and the humanistic side of your profession. Whether you're in IT or business or teachers college or nursing, there are human beings in the equation. Even in something as sometimes as static as some may consider information technology. It's a computer, it's an inanimate object. Yes, but there are people on either side of that computer, both receiving the information and putting in the information. And what are the humanistic considerations that go into that? Business, certainly a very humanistic profession, dealing with people on a day-to-day basis, and what considerations might you have there? Teaching and nursing, and again, you know, everything that we do in life, in one sense or another, has to do with who we are as people. So that's the basic premise from which you will start this task. And once you have your 3 different works and your thematic umbrella, your theme, you're ready to get started on this task. So now we're going to put together the multimedia 25 to 30 slide PowerPoint presentation. You'll notice that in each section, they give you a suggested slide length. If you stick to that suggested slide length, you will come out with the recommended 25 to 30 slides. It works like a charm. So the A section is the introductory section. Sometimes students will, the first slide they do will be a title slide, and that is perfectly fine. If you don't want to do a title slide, you don't have to, but if you do, certainly go ahead and do that. If you do a title slide, your next 3 slides will do the following. For A1, they ask you to summarize the background details about each of the 3 works. So devote a separate slide, the first 3 slides, to each of the works that you are using. So on each separate slide, you'll introduce your literary work and whatever the other 2 works that you've chosen are. And on the slide, you will include author or artist name, the title of the work, and the discipline to which the work belongs. So it is a work of literature, or a work of film, or a work of music. And those are the first 3 slides. On your 4th slide, you are going to provide a thesis statement to clarify how all 3 works contain that same thematic umbrella and how you relate that theme to your profession. And that's really all your thesis statement needs to do at this point. I certainly don't want anyone getting sort of caught up in creating a perfect or beautiful thesis statement at this point. To be honest with you, you may find that as you progress through this PowerPoint, and by the time you get to the end, you have a much clearer understanding of the connection, and certainly could go back at that time and refine or revise your thesis statement if you need to. But for now, just keep it very simple. Explain these 3 works are all tie into this theme, and this theme is important to my profession, whether it's IT, business, nursing, or teachers college, because of yada, yada, yada. So that's the A section, simple as that. If you are concerned at all that you're not on the right track, or just want some verification, send this A section to a course mentor. You can send it to humanities@wgu.edu. What's nice is we can have a look at it, make sure you're on the right track, that it we see the thematic connection you're making, the works that you've chosen are appropriate, and you can sort of go on. If you feel comfortable with your works, you like what you've chosen, then no need to actually do that step. You can certainly continue on. The advice I have in terms of selecting your works is, when you're selecting a piece of film, you don't want to do a cartoon or anything that doesn't have a storyline, sort of some teeth to it. Same thing with music. You don't want to select a commercial jingle, and with visual art, you don't necessarily want to select a cartoon unless it's for visual reasons that you've identified. So keep in mind this is a collegiate paper, and when selecting your works, keep that in mind. Also, the literary works, I didn't mention this, but you can see here in the recording I have in the chat window a link to our community blog that includes links to the actual literary works online. Most, but not all, of the literary works on this list are available online. And if you click that link in the chat pod, you'll be taken to the community blog that shows you where you can find the works of literature, and you can just start reading from there. If it's not available online, you'll need to either acquire it through the WGU library if available through there, or through your own library, or even occasionally students will purchase it through half.com or amazon.com. Some of them you can find very, very cheaply, so if you want to go that route as well. But most of them, again, can be found online, and if not, it's stated in the blog as well. So once you're done with your A section and have decided to either send it to a course mentor or just continue on, you'll move on and do an objective analysis in the B section of each of your works. So for this objective analysis, you'll notice that they want something a little bit different for the literary work than they want for the two non-literary works. So B1 is slightly different than B2 and B3, but B2 and B3 are exactly the same. So for the literary work, they want this. They want the form. Is it a poem? Is it a short story? Is it a novella? Is it a novel? What is it? Subject matter, the general idea of this work. And then in B1A, they want you to summarize, and they say in list form, which usually means they're looking for some bullet points. So summarize in list form what the work is about without discussing your personal opinion. And all that's saying is, tell us what the author is saying. If it's a short story, give us an idea of what happens. What does the author do with the characters? Who are these characters? What happens in the story? How do the events unfold? How do the characters interact? Give us some bullet points on what the work is about. Moving on to the two non-literary works of art, B2 and B3, they want the same set of information for the two non-literary works. So they want media, form, or genre. What is it? A horror film, a country western song, oil painting, watercolor, what is it? Also the subject matter, so give us a general idea, a few sentences about what the work of film or music or art is about. The third bullet point here, they ask for artist techniques in terms of media or style, how the technique allows you to differentiate this work from other works of the same discipline. Really what that's asking is that you do a little bit of research about your artist. So if you're using a film, that'll be your director. If you're using a piece of music, that'll be your composer. A piece of art, obviously the artist. So do a little bit of research. What makes Van Gogh Van Gogh? Or Monet Monet? What makes Steven Spielberg unique as a director, or Danny Elfman unique as a film composer? Do some research about your artist and tell us what's unique about them. Every artist is unique and has a very unique lens from which they create their works of art. Finally, B2A and B3A, they ask you to discuss how 4 elements of artistic composition are used in your non-literary works. So if you've chosen a work of two-dimensional art, you will find these elements of artistic composition for two-dimensional art in Module 2. If you've selected a film, you'll want to look at Module 4.11. And finally, if you've selected a work of music, you will want to look at the elements of music that are found in 4.19. So that's where you find the elements for the respective disciplines. And it's important that you not speak very generically or generally about these elements, but rather identify them in the works that you've chosen. Don't tell us, what tempo is in general in music, but tell us about the tempo of the piece of music that you have chosen and discuss how tempo is used in that piece of music. So that's the objective analysis section. From there, we're going to move on and we're going to look at a subjective analysis section. That's the C section. So you've done an introductory section for each of the works, an objective analysis for each of the works in section B. And now here in section C, you're going to do a subjective analysis of each of the works here in section C. So you'll notice C1, C2, and C3 asks for the exact same set of information for each of the works. So what they're wanting for each of the works, they want you to discuss your subjective interpretation of meaning found in the work, meaning that we all have, again, a very unique lens, not just artists, but all of us as individuals. So how do you see this work? What do you draw out of this work? What is the meaning that you get from this work? I've had this scenario happen, and maybe you have as well, where a friend and I will read a book, and we'll, sit down over coffee to talk about this book. And at some point in the conversation, I'm sitting there scratching my head wondering if we even read the same book. Because, we all have a way of seeing things, and it's not cookie cutter. It's not the same. As a matter of fact, it's almost impossible for two people to see the same thing in the same way. So what is your subjective interpretation of meaning in the works that you've identified? Talk to us about your own lens. Talk to us about how you see these works given your framework. They also ask for the mood of the works. So what is the mood for you? You and I can go to a movie, and you can find that movie absolutely inspiring and uplifting, and I can find that exact same movie superficial, boring, and dull. Neither is correct. There is no right or wrong when we talk about subjective response. But what is yours? What was the mood of the piece for you? How did you feel? How did it make you feel? And then finally, the themes. We talked about the overarching theme that you use to sort of connect all three of these pieces together. But works of art are layers. When you look at a work of literature, it's not just about one thing. There are many, many layers of themes that you'll find in works of art all around. So just explore some of the other themes. For example, the Count of Monte Cristo, classic piece of literature. It's not just about revenge, not just about faith, not just about search for identity, not just about love, not just about heroics. It's about all of those things and so much more. So there's layers of themes in every work of art, and they want you to explore those themes here. So finally, we come to C1A, C2A, C3A, and that is discussing how you reached your conclusions about your personal interpretation. It's very important to discuss how you get to what you think about these works. And that's not, again, to sort of validate your feeling. There is no right or wrong. Back to our movie scenario. You hate it, I love it. Neither of us are right. But what was it that you didn't like about this film? Was it the way the characters were portrayed? Was it the lighting? What was it that you didn't like about this film that turned you off? And conversely, what did I like? I sort of support using the film and examples in the film of what I did like. It's not enough just to say, I liked that film. What did I like about it? So that's what they're looking for when they ask you to discuss how you reached your conclusions. So that's A, B, and C in a nutshell. And you'll notice that you've done an individual, an isolated analysis of each of the works up until this point. And in D, we're going to mix it up a little bit. So in the D section, we're going to mash all the works up and talk about relationships. So when we talk about relationships, they're really looking for the similarities and differences in what you identified in section C. So in subject matter, mood, and theme. So where are they similar? Where are they different? Maybe two of them are inspirational and one of them is kind of depressing. Maybe all three of them share a theme of friendship in addition to the theme of loyalty that you identified at the beginning. Or maybe two of them have a theme of revenge and one of them has a theme of faith. So what are the similarities and differences in subject matter, mood, and theme? D1 then asks you to discuss how the similar, and this is a challenging concept, I think, for a lot of students, and here I'll do my best to sort of break it down. What they're looking for, essentially, is that when we do an analysis in isolation, we see things differently than when we do comparative analysis. When we do comparative analysis, we may notice things that we didn't notice before, or may see them in more specificity. So perhaps, in your isolated analysis of the moods of your works, you had identified, two of the works were uplifting. inspirational. So you, in your isolated analysis in section C, for each of the works respectively, you said they were inspirational. Now here in section D, you're going to sort of put them side by side, and maybe by putting them side by side, you see, yeah, they're inspirational. They're both inspirational, but they're not inspirational in the same way. Maybe they take their inspiration from different things, or maybe so discuss how, doing this relationship analysis, how putting things next to each other helps you see them maybe a little bit differently. Finally, the E section and F section, we have reflection in E on all of the analysis parts B, C, and D that you've already done. And in this reflection, you want to address how the themes and moods and meanings shed light on what they call the human condition. And all that really means is, what do these works tell us about what it means to be a human being? What do the works and the themes and the moods and the meanings, what do they say about who we are as people? That's what they're looking for when they talk about human condition. What do these works tell us about who we are as people? In E2, they ask you to relate the themes and moods and meanings back to your profession. This is really the first time you've been sort of asked to do that specifically since the task began, and you made that sort of sweeping connection between the theme and your profession. Here they want you to expand on that a little bit and talk about that relationship between these themes and moods and meanings and your profession. So wax philosophical a little here. And then finally, again, how a general knowledge of the humanities, not just the three works that you've identified or the one theme that you're using to tie it all together, but how a general knowledge of the humanities can be valuable in relationship to your profession. And I would challenge anyone on this call to think of a movie that may have either inspired you professionally or changed your course professionally, or even just is considered one of those things that everyone in business or IT or teaching or nursing must see. My guess is you'll find. Finally, you're going to summarize your main points in a conclusion in F, and a couple of slides here, and your conclusion can include how similarities and differences relate to form or are significant in terms of profession or your life. Gather some main points from throughout the PowerPoint. Maybe restate your thesis here or expand on your thesis. And then finally, you'll want to include a reference slide or reference slides and all in-text citations and references in APA format, just like you would do with an essay. And in a nutshell, that is task 2. I do hope this has been helpful. Keep in mind, again, Module 11 is terrific for sort of some additional information to help guide you through this task. I do hope that this has been helpful in sort of breaking it down. And certainly, if you have questions, Scott, Lisa, and myself, we're all here. Navigate. So please don't struggle. Reach out to us, whether by email through humanities@wgu.edu or call one of us directly. We will help you in any way we can get through this task. Finally, another plug for the blogs devoted to these tasks that will help you, again, break this down. And feel free to listen to this recording as often as necessary. And contact us with any additional questions. We are here and happy to help. Have a great day.